Salutations, YouTube. This is Team Professional New once again, and roughly a week ago I put up a YouTube video declaring that Inzektors are not quite dead, and today I'm going to put my UVO cards where my mouth is. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, but still I'm going to show you my own build, which has been doing very well deck testing against decks which I would predict will reign supreme in the upcoming meta, including Dark Worlds and Heroes. And I've been testing its metal against those decks, and it's done very well, actually. And I think that they will still be a force to be reckoned with. They are going to have to change out their playing style ever so slightly and kind of gear towards a different deck build, but nonetheless, they're still good. I think that this is a really good place to start, so hopefully Inzektor enthusiasts such as myself can come here and figure out maybe a good jumping off point for making the new meta Inzektors. So let's get right into it. One Dragonfly, because we only have one, sadly, and then 3 Centipede. These are really your power cards, and it's easy enough to get into them with the deck, especially with other cards I have, but these are very important cards, and can function well even without Hornet, although still we have the one Hornet, who's very handy, and unfortunately you kind of have to ration the Hornet and the Dragonfly, but you can still play the deck very well as long as you play smart. Now next we have, I didn't love this guy before, but Ladybug. Now we have to cut some corners with the deck. And 3 of him, simply because he's a very easy beat stick with the deck, so even if you don't have a Hornet or a Dragonfly, or even a Centipede, he can do a lot of stuff, and if you do have a Hornet, he becomes a beater which can pop stuff. You can just equip this to him to give him 500 and he'll become a beater. And there's a lot of ways to really abuse him, so I think he's going to become more of a staple at 3 in the deck. That's my own personal opinion. You can all test your heart's content, see what works, but that's that. Now I'm running 2 of these guys now for 2 reasons. One, he makes quick beaters, which can be very handy. He turns this little guy into an easy 2400, which is super cool. And furthermore, he helps with swarming, which his deck is now severely lacking in, which was one of their greatest features previously. So now what happens is, let's say you have her in the graveyard, for instance. All you need, really, is this guy with either him or maybe even MST if you're desperate. You pop this guy and then you get her back. So I think this guy gains a lot more value in the deck now that they've been hit. So I like him at 2. And sure, there's Giga Weevil, but I like him just because he also makes stuff into a beater. So also I have him. I know a lot of people may be dismayed at this choice, and I know he does seem very mediocre, and yes he is, but you have to really have an open mind with the new Inzektors, and I've been trying him, and he actually works very well. Not only can you equip Hornet, blow up your opponent's back row, his 1000 boost is very handy. With this guy, for instance, equip him, and he's 2700, which is not too shabby. So he definitely pulls his own weight, and at 1, I find him to be a very good card and very handy. Sure, I use him for Lure of Darkness a lot, or Regeki Break, which is later in the deck, but he still has his moments, so I think he's good. And he's our Inzektor. So, next is 2 Spirit Reaper, Lifesaver. There are so many decks, especially in the upcoming meta, I feel, which can't get over him with that much ease. So he's really handy, he stalls, and also his ability to discard cards in your opponent's hand is very handy. Helps gain advantage, which is always a nice thing. Then him, Card Trooper, I think is going to become a staple in deck. I did not like him last meta, but I've finally broken down and given in, and I've jumped aboard his bandwagon. He really just does so much work for the deck, because what you want to do is, one thing is, he helps to get Hornet or just anything like Dragonfly or Hop in your grave or Giga Mantis, which could be handy, because he mills 3 cards, and then he lets you draw an additional card when he's destroyed, so he just lets you shift through your deck that much faster, and he adds much needed speed. He's a little slow at first, but he definitely helps with the setup, so I love him in here. Place a level 3, you can exceed with him. Gores, just very handy. I'm very fond of this card. And Sangam, very handy in the deck, and he helps you get your Dragonfly or Hornet, so he's very, very important. Adds a lot of consistency just with that one card. Next is 3 Upstart. Now, I was running a Mind Control and 2 Veilers instead of this, but as we're transitioning into a format where Heroes and Dark Worlds will be very prominent, especially Heroes, I feel, the 2 Veilers main deck can be very dead, and I feel this is preferable. I mean, I'm still deck testing it, but especially now it's coming out as shiny, it'll be easier for me to play, easier on the eyes. But next is 2 duality, just because we have the 2, adds much needed consistency. Foolish Burial for more thing in the deck. And then next we move out of the thing in the deck category and go into Excalibur. I think this is a staple now. It's so handy. It makes beat sticks. It lets you get back Inzektors in the grave, which you may get rid of with Card Trooper, or just may have been picked off by your opponent. So very good. And what it does is when you have him first turn, you probably don't have a Hornet, but you can use either a Hopper or Ladybug usually. Get this equipped to him. And in many cases, he'll actually survive because your opponent just can't get over him. He'll be 2400. And if they do, you'll get him back. And if he survives the turn, next turn you can get the Hornet. So it's a very good card. Also, it lets you recycle Dragonfly. So a lot of good stuff can happen from that. I think it's a staple at 3 now. Next, Heavy Storm and 3 MST. Just because I hate back row. I'm very paranoid about back row. And this, Armor Blast. Yeah, I know. It's another card that seems a little lackluster, but surprisingly good. Pulls a lot of weight, and I just really like in the deck. Gets rid of stuff like Skill Drain, Macrocosmos, problem cards. Monster Born, and Lower Darkness, staples. Then the meager trap lineup. 2-column Haunted, with the 2-card Trooper and the Sangan. It's very chainable. Gets a, get a lot of mileage out of it. It lets me draw when I chain it, or I can search deck. Or if I actually get it off and it stays on the field against Inzektor, and that can be crippling. Safe Zone, just 1. I only have 1, and I'm not sure if I run more, but long story short, it's a very good card and come in very handy. Saves your monsters. Then 2 Regeki Break for basically anything you may come into contact with. May a problem monster, a continuous card. So this is very handy, and there are a lot of things in the hand which you can get rid of, like Ladybug and Inzektor Hornet. So yeah, so I feel overall this is an incredibly consistent build. I think it's a really good build. I think this is a good place to start if you're trying to build an Inzektor deck for the format. I've tested this extensively, and you can definitely make modifications, but I think this is a good deck to test just to get a feel for how they're going to work this map. And so, hopefully the Inzektor players will continue keeping on, and until then, I'll see you later, YouTube.